Hey guys, gray box, super exciting. We're ready for a treasure hunt today. Hiddenite. Hiddenite is a type of spodumene. I think Hiddenite is green. Yeah, because kunzite is pink spodumene. I'm pretty sure Hiddenite is either yellow or green spodumene. I know that you can find Hiddenite in the United States. I think you can find it in North or South Carolina. Green is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna go with my gut. Gut says green. Spodumene is like the family. Kunzite is a sibling. So kunzite's the first name, spodumene's the last name. Same for Hiddenite. I know that the difference is color, so I assume that there's some difference in the chemical structure. Maybe there is one element that colors this one pink, one element that colors this one green, but I have a funny feeling we will be learning more about that today. Now, can I open the box? Yes. Yay, oh cool, rough and cut. Okay, so we have green, rough, and cut. Okay, so we talked about Hiddenite, how it had that, I said green, but I think that this one looks a little bit more yellowish green. There's a rough piece. You can see right through that. That's really cool. I love how fresh it is, so fresh and so clean. Kind of reminds me of peridot. Peridot to me is a little bit yellow. I love rough, but I really love cut stones. This, to me, looks like maybe 2 or 3 carats. Wow, that's really cool. So what's neat about this is the color. You can see, I think this one's a little bit more yellow than that. That is a true green. This one looks a little bit more yellow. I think it's neat how you can see how clear the crystal is. I'm curious as to where this is from. I don't remember what the hardness was on this. Probably say a set independent. You could do this as a ring. I know I've seen kunzite jewelry. I don't know if I've seen Hiddenite. Huh. Wonder who we could ask. You have any ideas? Maybe a guest? Maybe Eric Fritz from the University of Arizona. I have a pretty good feeling that these are your Hiddenite specimens. Am I right? Or am I right? You're back.
Hey, Natalie,
You're
absolutely.
Back.
How are you?
Excited?
I'm excited.
How are
you got some of my favorite gem material here.
I'm a little surprised this isn't organic. I expect organics out of you.
It's all about the element of surprise. So I thought I would surprise you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you're from North Carolina.
I'm from North Carolina.
And you can find Hiddenite in North Carolina?
Can you?
Can I?
It's not easy to find, but it does come from North Carolina.
That's what I thought. Okay, so tell me where these specimens are from.
So tell me again what the name of this gem material is?
Hiddenite.
So this comes from Hiddenite, North Carolina.
I didn't know that was a real...
Of course it's real. And Hiddenite gets its name from William Earl Hidden, who was the person that Hiddenite was actually named for.
It's really cool. Okay, so you didn't mine these yourself?
No, I did not mine those
bought them.
myself.
It's in your collection.
It's a rare gemstone.
Tell me a little bit about spodumene. Would this family be something I could set in a ring? Because you know me, I'm always looking for jewelry.
Yes, you could set it in a ring, but the interesting thing about spodumenes are they do fracture along planes very easily.
Okay.
That also makes it very difficult to cut. So you have to be very careful when you're faceting these stones because you can get down to that very last polish and you end up cleaving the stone. And then you end up with 2 not so good ones.
So whoever cut this had to really know their stuff.
Yes, this was cut by one of the guys at Coast to Coast Rare Stones back in the early 70s probably. A gentleman named Art Grant, who was one of the original cutters at Coast to Coast, and they're known for being able to cut rare materials, unusual materials, and difficult to cut materials.
Why Hiddenite? You're an organic guy. You like organic stones. What brought you to Hiddenite?
For 26 years of my life, I lived in Taylorsville, North Carolina, which was the county seat of Alexander County, and Alexander County's other town is Hiddenite.
Okay, so you kind of...
So this locality was probably 15 or 20 minutes from my house, and I've always been enamored with it.
Did you ever go looking for Hiddenite?
I did, and I found some nice slivers in the mines there in the past.
Do you still have it in your collection?
I do, of course. Cool. You mentioned kunzite. Kunzite was actually found in Pala, California, very much the same time that this was discovered. It's very interesting because, as I mentioned, William Hidden was the person this material was named after.
Okay.
And I'll go into that history in just a minute. George Kuntz was actually the most famous mineralogist of the time. This is the late 1800s, and it was pretty well established in the mineral community that if a new mineral was found, it would be named after Kuntz.
Okay.
The problem was this got named after Hidden instead.
And George Frederick Kuntz was the chief gemologist at Tiffany & Co.
Absolutely.
For anyone who's not familiar with that.
Absolutely. And so this didn't make Kuntz very happy because he thought this should have been named after him.
Okay.
But it was only a short period of time later that the pink form of spodumene, kunzite, was found and named after him.
So do you see more of this as specimens in just cut stones or in jewelry?
There's a lot of controversy whether a proper mineral name can be based on a locality.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people feel like it can't. But this is actually chemically, this is the only place in the world that this material is found. The coloring agent is chromium.
Okay.
And we see other green spodumens around the world, but they're typically colored by vanadium, which gives the same color, a little more yellowish tint. But those of us from North Carolina like to maintain this is the only place you can find it.
So you like to think that Hiddenite is a one-source wonder?
I do. The other interesting fact about the green spodumens are a lot of times the material fades in sunlight. So you pull it out of the ground, and it's characteristic even, these won't fade,
okay,
no
just
worries.
making sure.
One of the main characteristics, even for some of the pink kunzite that's being mined in California today, they pull it out of the ground and it's this deep, intense purplish pink, and then it fades in a matter of days. But it does still maintain a nice pink color, so it's not really a problem. It'll only fade to a degree and then it's stable. Problem with the green spodumene from other areas, I've seen it where you could actually heat the material and it would make a nice intense green, and within 2 or 3 days it was perfectly clear spodumene.
What about this? Do you think this is stable?
It's very stable. This cut stone here was cut from a piece of rough that was during the time of Hidden. So we're talking from the late 1880s up until maybe 1908. Once Kuntz became a little friendlier towards Hidden after the whole naming controversy, Tiffany was actually exploring the mines around Hiddenite looking for gem materials.
So you think that maybe we could go have an adventure in Hiddenite? Would be a good place to go.
We could do that.
So it was named after a guy whose last name was Hidden, not because it's hidden in North Carolina.
No, but it is fairly elusive as a gemstone.
It's doubly refractive. It's not pleochroic, not to my knowledge.
So it actually is. If you look down the C-axis, which is just a technical term of looking at the top of the crystal going down, if we look in normal view, we've got a nice pale green color. I'm holding it so you can't look like I just told you to, but now look down that axis. Look how much darker that is.
Yeah, you're right.
And this is the same effect we get out of tourmaline. If you've got a light crystal of tourmaline, you can cut it in this direction and it will actually intensify the color. Or if it's too dark in this direction, we cut it this way and it's much lighter in color. This stone was actually cut, we can surmise, from this direction because the color matches a little better, and just the general shape of the crystal. We know that we can't get a cut stone in that direction or that direction of any size. So to maximize size and weight, it would have to be cut from that axis. Even if you look down the end of that crystal, you can see that it's actually a darker, more intense color.
You're right, it is.
Another cool fact about Hiddenite, the coolest thing is it was mistaken for broken emeralds early on. And now, you know, they discovered a whole new species of mineral and another variety. I think that's cool, and to all be from basically the southeastern United States. The other nice thing about North Carolina, and I think we touched on this when we were talking about the clam pearls, once I got you refocused from the clam chowder, I was known for my really, really good clam chowders.
All right, what's the secret to a good clam chowder?
I'm sorry, I can't share that. We have all the major gem finds in North Carolina. We have emerald, we have sapphire blues, we have ruby red.
Wow.
We have diamonds, very small, but they are documented, and an unbelievable amount of different quartzes, the citrines, the amethysts, the clear quartz, the rutilated quartz. So it's really an exciting area geologically, how all these things are present. We claim to have more gemstones than any other state. California doesn't really like that. That's why sometimes when the Californians say they want to leave the United States, I'm like, yes, that means we've got all the major gemstones. No offense to you.
So it's what, East Coast versus West Coast?
Somewhat like that.
Can you maybe speculate as to why there are so many gemstones and why North Carolina is kind of a hotbed for gemology?
I could speculate and say some of the current thinking on landmass and geologic formations is that at one point all of our continents were all together, Pangea. If you take these different continents and look at the way that they would fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, North Carolina actually fits in nicely with the coast of Africa, and South America would have fused up this way, North Carolina and Africa, so we've got that same center of geologic origin. So when these things formed many, many millions of years ago, potentially it was while the landmass was at one, or at least the raw materials were there. And then we know through plate collisions, even currently, we get high temperature and high pressure. We know that minerals have evolved along with human life and that things changed over time. So with that heat and pressure, it could be that a lot of these things became liquid again, were forced up from the lower regions of the earth, and as they cooled slowly, they recrystallized as different minerals or different forms. I think we're going to see and hear more of this in the future. One of the emphasis on the University of Arizona Museum is going to be on mineral evolution. 5 years ago, we'd never even heard the word, and we typically think of rocks as not changing. They all just formed all at once. But we know through metamorphosis and different things that rocks have changed over time. And I think it'll be interesting to explore this on a much higher level.
Can I do an unboxing at the University of Arizona?
I think we can make that arrangement. We know people.
You know people?
We know people.
You know people who know people.
We know people.
You said Hiddenite was found in the late 1800s, so it's entirely possible that humans had some sort of interaction with Hiddenite before, but they thought it was an emerald, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, even before we knew what an emerald was, we had these green things. And I think for me, in an anthropological sense, that's the reason people started adorning themselves with these natural materials. They'd find something green, maybe with a little bit of a shape on it, and there's no reason to think, why wouldn't I pick that up and wear it or keep it in my pocket? It's a reverence for nature pretty much, and it's something that separates us from all the other life forms because we have an appreciation of beauty.
That's true, you're right. I never thought of jewelry and gemology that way.
But you haven't even asked the most interesting thing about this mineral.
What's that?
This was discovered by schoolboys in plowed fields, and it later became known that we were finding some nice hexagonal crystals along the surface, which, as we know, are emerald. So Hiddenite is known for its emeralds. It's the finest locality for North American emeralds, and there have been some fantastic emeralds found.
Do you have any North Carolina emeralds?
Do. The emeralds get their green color from chromium.
And vanadium, some of them.
But from North Carolina, it's only chromium.
Okay, so
Hiddenite gets its color from chromium. So when they were finding the first emeralds, they were finding these broken shards, which they assumed too were broken emeralds. The reality of it is they were sent to Kentucky, tested by a famous geologist, and he said this is the mineral spodumene, and it's a green-bearing form unknown to the world at that time. But the interesting thing, this material is found in the same veins as the emerald. Where it gets interesting is the way these veins run, you end up with mica, red clay with mica, and then you'll find quartz, and then you'll find emerald or Hiddenite.
So never in the same?
Never in the same pocket. But it's interesting because you can go less than 6 inches into a new pocket and switch to the other mineral.
That is pretty wild,
bizarre.
Actually. Do you have any kunzite in North Carolina? I'd assume.
We don't have kunzite. Kunzite's colored by manganese, and manganese is not an abundant element that we find in North Carolina.
Tell me how rare, Hiddenite is.
It's extremely rare. What I've brought to you today are not typical cut stones or crystals.
Okay,
they're typically much more narrow and elongated.
Okay.
And so people still want to facet the material, but you get these pencil lead shaped and sized cut stones, which are not practical for jewelry in any way, shape, or form.
So this is a rare to find something.
It's rare to find something this wide. And even this big fat crystal, you can see you couldn't really cut a stone out of that. because it doesn't have the depth.
What do you think price is in relation to kunzite?
It's much more expensive because it's much less available.
Okay, and how rare would you say kunzite is?
Kunzite, there's current mining in the pegmatites of Southern California. When they hit good pockets, there were some really good finds over the past 5 to 7 years, but then for years they'll hit nothing. And there's always the controversy, do we keep this as a mineral specimen or do we cut it?
What would you do?
And I think in mining it's always good to find broken crystals. A lot of the mineral guys are kind of disappointed, but that's prime product for cutting into gemstones.
Would you cut this?
I would not cut that because that one's not replaceable.
Would you set this?
For the right person, I might set that at some point in time. You just never know.
I like that fresh green color. It doesn't look like an emerald, but
No.
it's...
And we know that this material, where that was cut from, probably came from those earliest discoveries, like I said. That mine pit actually went down almost 100 feet, which was being hand dug at the time in hard red clay. Prior to my life as a gemologist, I was a landscape contractor. In my 20s, I spent a lot of time on the coast, and I would actually go out and harvest these for making my own chowders. I could go and get exactly what I needed for that night's meal, just like the early hunter-gatherers. Take it home, cook them fresh, and I was known for my really, really good clam chowders.
All right, what's the secret to a good clam chowder?
I actually brought you another little clue in case you were having an issue. We always do the unboxings here, but you know, when I give someone a present, I tend to give them a card to go with it.
Oh, really?
I mean, is that not more appropriate?
You're so kind, Eric.
So I made this one especially for you and our viewers.
Okay, a ramen.
Very good.
I remember that in school.
Okay. So do we know what Raman spectroscopy is used for?
Testing the chemical compounds?
So yes, we know when light interacts with a material, in this case gemstones, some of it is absorbed, and that's what leads us to our brain to process the color.
Right.
So for this material, all the colors of the rainbow would be absorbed by the material except for the green, and that's why we see and our brain tells us it's green. But Raman, the nice thing about this same interaction, some of the light is actually scattered as it leaves the material, and it's a little bit different wavelength than we would expect. And it gives us almost a DNA fingerprint of all the different mineral and gem materials.
Okay, so explain this axis right here.
So all of these peaks represent the different composition of that material, and it's distinctive for everything. And if we had looked at kunzite even, it would shift and be different than what we've got for the Hiddenite.
So each peak, you know, this could be the chromium peak, and this could be the...
In a simple way of
something like
looking,
that.
it could, but it represents a lot more than that.
This is, you know, pretty intense stuff. We usually don't get to this on the unboxing.
No, but the reason I did this for you is two reasons. I currently work with the University of Arizona, and the University of Arizona did the RUF database, which is the Raman spectra of every known mineral out there. And what I did for you is I did a Raman on the cut stone as well as the piece of rough, and you can see the peaks all perfectly match. The positions are the same, the intensities are a little different, but it confirms that both of these pieces are not only Hiddenite, but very similar in composition.
Okay, so let's back up. Can you tell everyone what a ramen is?
It's named after Mr. Raman, or Raman is a more appropriate.
Not the noodles.
Not the noodles.
Okay.
But being from the South, I call it ramen. Just like, I don't know if they're ramen noodles or ramen noodles. It's interesting that this data is all put out by a college, and a lot of college students live on ramen
I
noodles.
Did for a while.
Exactly.
Why is this important to a gemologist or a geologist?
It helps confirm the identity of different species of.
Kunzite in South America would be different than kunzite in North America?
It actually would.
That's
And so for those people that say our material's the same as yours, we can actually scientifically plot a graph and show them, no, it's not exactly the same. And for things that we know the coloring agents are different, then we have a lot better idea with something like this.
So this is Hiddenite's fingerprint.
And we can send our DNA off and find our heritage. Hopefully one day we can do that for gem materials.
We can identity test gems, and then we can kind of figure out where everything's coming from.
Find the provenance of where they've been and how they form. Being able to tell a customer and assure them that they're getting exactly what they think they're getting. Hopefully one day appraisers and jewelry stores will have access to, so they can know for a fact what they're selling and can assure their customers.
You said before, oh, I'm gonna surprise you, and I said, oh, well, I got 2 nice, beautiful stones. I didn't even think you would do this. All right, favorite thing about Hiddenite is the color. What's your favorite thing?
I think I like the fact that the color actually intensifies when we actually look down that C-axis, so you can see our colors much more intense in this direction than in this direction. And to me, that's super cool.
That is super cool. Eric, thank you.
Thank
it's
you
always
for having
a treat
me.
to have you.
Always fun.
I'm hoping for some more organics next time, and
Okay,
maybe
we can do
a
it.
North Carolina emerald.
Okay, we can do that too.
Possible?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've got a huge collection, so I don't even have to ask.
And
if
why
you
stop
have
at an emerald? Let's have a ruby and a sapphire.
That would be fun. I think we should do a whole unboxing on American Gemstones.
Excellent. Let's
That'd be
do
neat.
it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming.
Keep watching and come back.
And like and subscribe.